In this tutorial, you will learn how to register, edit, and test a NASA-endorsed API and let NASA OpenNEX host your API. If you would like to have NASA OpenNEX to host your API, you need to submit an application to nasa.opennex@gmail.com. The way how it works is that you will need to wrap your APIs in a Docker container and upload your Docker container to Docker Hub. All such information should be described in detail in your email. If your application is approved, you will receive an approval code in an email. After you receive the approval code, you could register your Docker from the Register App Docker page. The link to this page is available both on the home page and also on the top menu. So, the first step after receiving the approval code is to go to Register App Docker page. Then, you should fill out a registration form with required details as shown here. Please note that the asterisk beside of a field means that the field is mandatory. In this form, you're required to first provide the approval code sent to you and a name for your app Docker. Here is an example. We provide Fire App Docker as our container name. Then, you should provide the full Docker image name, including the tag name of your Docker. You should also provide the port that your Docker will use. As you can see, a port will then be automatically assigned to you from OpenNEX, and a Docker run command will also be automatically generated. Finally, you must read and accept the NASA Web Privacy Policy and NEX Terms and Conditions by clicking this checkbox. Then, you can select the Register button so that your Docker will be registered. You can go to the App and Docker list to see your registered Docker. Please note that after you register your app Docker, allow some time for OpenNEX to download and install your Docker image to OpenNEX. Afterward, your app Docker will be listed for your validation. Please also note that you must validate your Docker before you can register your APIs as NASA-endorsed APIs. In order to validate your Docker, you can click the Validate button. With this URL, you can check whether your Docker is working fine. Selecting the Validation Passed button will allow you to go to the next step of registering a NASA-endorsed API. For registering a NASA-endorsed API, you should select the link provided in the homepage or in the top menu and fill out a registration form. Please note that the asterisk beside of a field means that the field is mandatory. Therefore, the mandatory fields for registering a NASA-endorsed API are API name, description, registered Docker ID, sample API call, app providers' names, and app providers' affiliations. As an example here, we can register a Find Fire Locations API. We can also provide a short description for this API. This description can be: this API checks the geolocations of all fires within a geobox and time duration. The next step is to specify the Docker ID registered for this API, which in our case is 19. As you can see, after specifying the Docker ID, the base URL for the API is specified. This base URL is specified based on the port assigned for the Docker on OpenNEX server. We should then complete the sample URL to provide a full list of parameters with their default values so that OpenNEX App Store can automatically extract all parameters and record them for later support. Note that the default value of some parameters may be empty, and it is allowed. As an example, we provide this URL as our sample URL call. As you can see, our sample API contains 6 parameters, and their default values are also specified. The next fields are the provider's names and affiliations. Here, for our example, we fill them as SOC Team and Carnegie Mellon University. In the registration process, you can also provide a homepage URL, which is the cover page for your API and can include an introduction of your API content, goal, and usage scenarios, as well as an introduction to your team and developers, techniques used, and etc. Also, by clicking on the Upload App thumbnail, you are guided to upload a picture or a diagram of your API. Finally, you must read and accept the NASA Web Privacy Policy and NEX Terms and Conditions by clicking this checkbox. This field is also mandatory. By clicking the Register button, the registration process will be finished. Then, you should be able to see your API in the App and Dockers list link, provided both on the top menu and also in the homepage. Note that your registered API can be seen in the NASA Endorsed apps. By clicking the columns on this list page, you can sort columns and find your API. Selecting the link provided for your API will lead you to the detail page. In this page, you can see all the information about your API. You can both edit and delete your API here in this page. In the Edit page, you can change any detail regarding your API. Here you can also provide more descriptions for your API's parameters so that people can easily find out what values they should use when running your API. After changing your API details, you should select the Update button so that the changes can be saved. Then, you will be automatically redirected to the API detail page. You can also verify if your API is ready to use by selecting the Try API button in the API detail page. This page shows all the parameters provided in your sample URL call for your API along with the default values. Selecting the Try API button will show the result of your API call. This invocation is for trial only and will not be logged as an execution in the OpenNEX.